Brian Salvatier's this morning as well. And the two main issues that we brought out of last night's hearing and our conversation afterwards was the question around 0.7% and the 1%. Now, I'll point out the nuance there. The other was the question of whether we ought to add a second resolve, and maybe when you all want to speak to that, that might be the decision made there. So let me do the 1% versus 0.7%, and the change, friends, comes in the second to the last resolve. And what we, in particular, the language in this resolve is very much the required language from PB&F. But what we did change is no less than an additional 1%, and the parens changes somewhat dramatically. The increase from 0.7% to 1% will be a visible and prophetic act of leadership in fighting global poverty and parens.
Right behind you, don't back up.
You want me to do it? Okay. One of the other issues was whether or not we should add an additional resolve, at least when we left last night, regarding the whole issue of embedded funds, that whole discussion we had around what's buried in other places in the budget. And we quickly realized that is a whole separate issue. And really what Jerry was talking about last night about it being a marketing issue and a financial one really is true. It probably needs to be done in some way, but we're not going to be able to tackle it here and get that done. So this is, if you remember that discussion and thought we were coming back with that, we didn't come back with that. This is what we've got.
And so we offer you this as an amendment to the resolution presented to this committee and ask that you send it to the House of Bishops.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
I would just suggest, because it is a rather lengthy parenthetical phrase there, the increase from 0.7% to 1% will be a visible and prophetic act of leadership in fighting global poverty. I really like that. I think that resolve would read more smoothly, especially for those who don't necessarily read these resolutions carefully. If you put it at the end, after, to support the Millennium Development Goals. So it would read, to include in the 2010-2012 budget for the Episcopal Church a budget line item of no less than an additional 1% of the non-government revenue of the Episcopal Church to support the Millennium Development Goals, and then in parentheses or a whole new sentence, either way. I mean, that's just wordsmithing, but I do think it.
That's a friendly amendment.
Yes.
May I suggest on the amendment that we withdraw the words "and additional," because that gives the appearance that we're talking about 1.7%. And so I would suggest that we that line should read at the beginning of the line, church budget item of no less than 1%, parentheses, the increase from 0.72. So that's
again, I think that's the mechanics of getting this done. So I think that would be consistent with what we were talking about. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Thank you.
So that's made as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
I would trust both have been made as friendly amendments.
Yes,
To
absolutely.
the name that's before us.
If you make friendly amendments, you have to put this on Facebook.
So it was the people who worked on it's feeling that we should go to the 1% and not recommit to 0.7. Because when we left here, it was kind of my thinking that we were going to recommit to the 0.07, not go to 1%. So,
well, I would say that we still continue to have that debate, but ERD makes a compelling argument for doing it. So it's going to be a sale.
And just to speak to that, I do think, and I was one of the people last night who said, you know, I have a button in my head. You know, you're going to have to redo your buttons sort of thing. To say towards 1%, I think is my concern. We do keep talking about 0.7%, but to talk about it as what's going to make a difference in terms of the UN resolutions, in terms of all, the talented MDGs, but as leadership, we say we're going to do 1%. As a prophetic witness, I think I can stand behind that and would encourage this committee to move this forward for that reason.
There was some discussion last night about the cost of putting in the explanation itself what Rob had said about other denominations giving 1%. Did we do anything with that? I don't see it, but I mean, was there any thought about doing that? I don't know if it would help or not, but it helped me to know Lutherans, other people are doing 1% rather than 0.7. I don't know if that would help this resolution pass or not.
That could be put in the explanation.
Yeah, the explanation, not a result, the explanation itself may help, but
We didn't talk about that.
What's the will of the body around there?
I'd encourage us to move this forward. I don't think this legislation is going to be difficult to get through the House. It may be long, but I think we need to push some legislation out of this committee.
well, we could use that as if somebody gets up to speak to the amendment.
I'll take it in the HOV if somebody will promise to go to Mike and HOV.
So moved.
Second. All in favor that we move forward on the new revised resolution D019, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition, nay. Anybody abstaining? We have another resolution sent to the House of Bishops.